like all
Oh,
over the
wow.
neighborhood next door and down the street. We could, as soon as the atmosphere changed in the room, it just was like a much lighter atmosphere. The dogs outside started barking. So I had figured, I was like, they're gone. Whatever was in the room has left, and now the dogs outside are sensing it and stuff like that. Man, let me tell you, Ziggy, I can't believe it freaked me out. But let me tell you, that stuff happens to my brother quite a bit, and he's grown accustomed to it now.
That's not good, brother.
He's a really spiritual guy, and I think that's why. I think one of the things that happens with us is when we come to when we start to realize the type of controversy that's going on in our lives, there's no reason for the enemy to put up any sort of facade anymore, because they know that we know they exist, and it's not any sort of reason for them to act like we don't know, So they torment us and do that type of stuff to him. I think that's what's going on with him.
But then, there is they don't have any right at all. There are doors that we may be giving them. There are doors that we might not know open, whether they're little or big. But man, that's at the end of the day, that's what Jesus, came here for, to buy us back from that. I mean, to have victory, Nike, over all the power of the enemy. And during the course of those testimonies, there were a lot of Christians that were going through it, and in some of those cases, it would happen, and they were asking people, why is this continuing to happen? They were getting the individual experiences stopped by using the authority of Jesus, but then it really stopped when they got bold and said, you're not rebuking them in the name of Jesus and, sending them to the abyss, and just really taking and being sure in their heart of what happened. And I think the assureness, sometimes it seems like the authority, if it's not anything except for just a belief in the person's mind sometimes, but that they don't have the authority. I think I don't know. I certainly know enough now to say I don't know what the issues are a lot with the doors, so I'm well out of my league talking about what an individual's authority is, except for when it's, a lot easier, when it's obvious. Like in a lot of cases in that movie, a lot of those people were very clearly into a lot of stuff, but very interesting stuff. I'd like to add one more thing here. I know I'm just a chatterbox generally most of the time, but one thing that a lot of the experiences of general demonic possession, if you're casting a demon out of somebody, you have to take authority to say, don't go when anybody else here, to leave, to go to the abyss, send them wherever, some people send them to Jesus to deal with them. A lot of people do that, but you have to be very clear when you cast them out. I'm thinking of two specific experiences where a demon once was cast out of a little girl. No, I believe it was cast out of the little girl and went into her mother right after it was cast out of the little girl. And there was also, and these are people that have opened doors for them. Imagine these demons that are desperately seeking embodiment will, look around once they're cast out of one person to look for another one. Another case was, it was at a church. Somebody came to the front altar, very possessed, and when the demons were cast out, they went into a person in the congregation, a new Christian that was just coming out of a lot of homosexuality issues and things like that. And so as soon as it was cast out of this person, that person became possessed. And they had to, again, cast it out of him. So it's all about doorways and authority, and that's exactly why Jesus came, because of authority, to buy us back. And So I don't know. I don't know where. I think it's a ground floor which we can build to protect ourselves, and for all of us to realize that that's our war. We know who it is. We know what the enemy is. So let's put on the full armor of God, because that's why I think Jesus was so clearly saying, live like this. I'm giving you some really good advice here, because if you live like this, you can have so much, fullness in your life, and the devil won't have anything in you, as he says. He has nothing in me, because he never gave him anything to any kinds of footholds. Okay, I'll shut up and let you guys discuss that. Sorry.
Anybody?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple examples I think in Luke where Jesus was healing a demon-possessed boy, and people were like asking him, what did this boy did he do something, or did his parents do something to cause him this to happen to him? And Jesus said, essentially, no. These are just the consequences of. This isn't a direct quote, obviously, but this is just life. Basically, is what Jesus said.
Well, he was talking about it. He was talking about they were talking about him being blind, and he said, "Why did?"
Or something like that.
And he said the reason it happened was to show essentially the glory of God. To show he was there for Jesus to heal him. That's why,
Right.
But I think in demonic possession you do have other issues, like in Mark 5, with that guy who was in amongst the tombs. I don't know. That was a man who probably had opened up a lot of doors.
There were two demoniacs, I think. There, right?
I think it was just one individual in Mark 5. He definitely had legion of demons in him, for they are many, as they said. But go ahead.
I think even Jesus himself in the desert when he was fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, and then again in the garden, he didn't open up any, he didn't open up any doors for him to be tormented by the devil and to be tempted. I do agree with you that there are doors we open up and allow these things to come in. I also think there are, I believe that demons and angels have to play by the same rules, in essence that they can't force us to do anything unless we allow them to do something like that. But I do think if an angel or a demon wants to reveal themselves to us for any reason whatsoever, we don't have to open any doors for that to happen. I think it's just something that they just don't.
I would agree with you. I mean, I'm tempted all the time. I mean, I think that no matter temptation is something separate. I think I'm sure the guy's got some stuff to say to that, but I do believe that temptation will, if you're living really, really good, you're still going to be really, really tempted. But I would say that that's probably separate. I don't know that and I would say that the fasting aspect, I've had a few confirmations of this recently, that fasting brings you closer to, I think it kind of thins the veil between good and, both dimensions. It seems like good and bad. I know when my girlfriend spent some time, like 3 days fasting just on water and stuff, and went out in the tent and everything, she tells a story of kind of like I don't know, but like basically seeing some stuff. And I've had other people say the same thing, like during fasting, it becomes like almost evident, like you can kind of see the stuff. Yeah. But it's such a biblical thing. I can only imagine that it's actually, you can see the good stuff too. It just somehow gets that a little thin. So I could just put those two things together and see that even we're all going to be tempted. And he's going to be there anyway. I could just see 40 days of fasting, things would look pretty solid. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, I think one of the reasons that is because of the toll it takes on you when you go through something like that, whether you fast for a day or a couple of days. Jesus was at his weakest point, and I think, like I was just telling the guys in the chat room there, I have a Greek Bible with Hebrew and English. It basically states that it was an opportune time for the devil to tempt Jesus. And then it uses the same kind of lingo when Jesus was in the garden at another very, very weak point, that it was an opportune time for the devil to come and to tempt Jesus, because the flesh was kind of at a weak point to where it was easy to tempt him into doing something to get him out of the horrible situation he was in, sort of thing. So I think when you fast and you get closer to God, you're also at a point, at a mindset to where, oh man, you have the enemy coming to you, trying to get you to, you've got to make yourself feel better, do this or do that,
right,
or whatever, But
And just a quick addition to that is that I do think that's why people see this at the same time at night. A lot of people are asking, why does this always happen at 3:30 in the morning? I asked Joe Jordan that when I interviewed him too. It's like, what's the deal with 3 o'clock in the morning? But it's just that's the nature of Satan. He's a coward essentially, and he comes to us when at our weakest points, and that's one of the weakest points you can find a human being is that point in like REM sleep, you know, and so. And the same thing when that's when a lot of people are really burdened and oppressed with negativity is when something actually is happening, when you are stressed, when you are moving or some of these things that do cause a lot of stress and a lot of things that are really happening for very good reasons. A lot of times it's magnified and there's a lot of oppression and bad vibes and stuff because you're at that weak point. And so it seems like it just magnifies what's already there. Because of the weakness. It's just seems to be a modus operandi of the dark side.
Definitely is. They feed on the weak. And
Hello.
I'm still here, but I don't have much else to say, I guess.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your confirmation there. I know that was something else to confirm Ziggy's thing. That was great, man. Really cool.
Yeah, thanks for giving me an opportunity again, guys.
Hey, no problem.
No problem.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just reading something today about fasting, and it was in like a health magazine or something, and it was talking about how long it takes before your body starts to break down your organs. I may be wrong, but it was right around like 30 or 40 days. So, you know. Just to touch on whether or not you need to invite an angel to show itself. I mean, if Satan can show himself as an angel of light, then he can show himself as an angel of light. You know, they can show up. There probably are rules as to how that can occur, but I mean, there's nothing that we can comprehend or that's in the Bible for us to even know. But it can happen, and it's not necessarily something that we have to open a door for something to show itself. It's, taking the thing in and having it, indwell you, I think, is what you have to give yourself over to it in order for it to occur, or open yourself up to it through various different, functions or things.
Sure. And you have Job, I mean, didn't seem to be anything there. So, I mean, it could be special cases as well. And I'll need to put this in there, too, that a lot of times, like I was reading these experiences, some of the ones I didn't put in the movie and podcast were the ones that there was a section that really didn't have a lot to do with sleep paralysis. In most cases, it was also incorporated, but it was very clearly part of mind control. And this is like, a lot of the multiple personality disorder kind of chosen ones type thing where these people are, trained and all this stuff from early ages. And because that process incorporates so much Satanism and deception and multiple personalities and confusion and fog and all this stuff that goes along with it, some of those cases were very clearly that. And so I just wanted to put that out there if anybody's ever listening to these archives and wants to know that there is that possibility too, that you might be you might have multiple personalities and you might be one of these people that are programmed to do the will of, well, to say it any better way, the New World Order, of some kind of job whatsoever. I don't know what the deal is there, but working on it. So. Anyway.
Yeah, Ziggy, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm listening to you guys. I was just thinking, man, when that stuff happened to me, like I said, I wasn't living, a righteous life. I was doing some bad stuff, and to me, that's an open door. When you do some stuff that it's against the will of God, right there, the door's open, and you're open for a target. You're open for any kind of manifestation or attack. Now, I also see if you're living a righteous life, if you're living a life like Job, always faithful to the Lord and just walking, right beside him, the devil, he's Satan. He's going to come and he's going to want to pick a bone with you. And the only way he could pick a bone with you